Hello students, how are you all? Hope doing good. Okay, so we are now almost at the end of this chapter. The major part will get over today. The last part being the list of nutrients that the plants require. I will give that separately or explain that separately. So today we will be understanding three major concepts rather, which as usual, as I tell you always, are very important concepts from your higher classes point of view. So the processes that we are going to learn today will make us understand as to how the water, once absorbed by the roots, travels throughout. So far what we had seen was the structure, the detailed structure of the conducting tissues. And what were the conducting tissues that we studied? We studied xylem, we studied about phloem, xylem conducting water and dissolved minerals, while phloem conducting or transporting food, correct? So how that water conduction actually happens, we will be observing or understanding the processes today in details, right? I hope you are ready to start or begin with the explanation. Sit with a book and a pen so that you can write down your doubts. All right? Thank you. Let's begin. Explanation. What we understood was the differences and the similarities between osmosis, diffusion, and also about active transport. We got a clarity as to the absorption or the movement of minerals across the semi-permeable membrane happens, but it is against the concentration gradient, that is from the lower concentration to higher concentration. Okay, so this also is called as reverse osmosis. Okay, osmosis, we know it is movement from higher concentration to lower concentration, but the moment we say reverse osmosis, it means it moves from lower concentration to higher concentration. Okay, so the first concept that we understand today is about root pressure. Now what is root pressure? As you can see here today, the root pressure, it is a system that allows water to move out of soil and into the plant. So how water moves inside the plant, it is because of the root pressure. Now the minerals are pumped by active transport by using ATP into vascular tissue. I remember telling you clearly, in active transport what happens? We utilize ATP or the energy currency of the cell. I hope you remember the full form of ATP, and that is adenosine triphosphate, right? So what happens is the minerals are pumped by active transport into the vascular tissue, and along with the minerals, now again minerals will not be all alone, they will be dissolved in water. So as the minerals are being taken in, the water will also be taken along with the minerals. Now this you have to understand clearly well, students. All right, what is that? That is, when the minerals are being absorbed by the roots, the minerals are not in powder form, right? Nor in gaseous form. How are they available in the soil? They are available in the form of solution dissolved in the water. So when the minerals are being absorbed, the water is also getting absorbed, and vice versa. When the water is being absorbed, the water can't just leave the minerals behind. The water also carries along with them the mineral ions, okay, in the form of ions. So the water is now entering in the roots through the process of active transport. Now as the water keeps entering continuously, this produces a pressure on the roots because the roots don't expand. So it is there, the cells have a limitation in their capacity. As you keep on filling water through inside the roots, in the process of this active transport, the absorption of water, what will happen? The water will just fill up the entire cell. Okay, now that water is definitely going to exert a pressure. I'm sure you must have experienced the pressure of water. I'll remind you when during Holi you try to fill up the balloons with water. Have you realized so many times, if the quality of the balloon is not good, if the rubber is of bad quality, poor quality, the water exerts so much pressure that the balloon simply bursts, right? Agreed? So water definitely exerts pressure. Now the root pressure is nothing but the pressure under which water from the root cells moves to the xylem of the plant. So from the root cells it will enter directly to the xylem. So there are many cells in between. It will cross all those cells. There's the outer layer, you remember, the epidermal layer of cells, then you have the cortex cells, then you have your xylem and phloem. So the root pressure is built up. Okay, it is nothing but the water pressure that enters and builds up a pressure here in the roots. That is root pressure, and that forces the water to go up. Is that clear? So from the roots, the water will be pushed up through the formation of the pressure created by entering water in the roots, and that is root pressure. So let us again explain what is root pressure. Root pressure is the pressure under which water from the root cells moves to the xylem of the plant. I hope you have understood this part clearly well. And what happens? Water is absorbed by the roots. Along with the water, the mineral ions are absorbed, and as the water keeps getting absorbed, it will create a pressure in the root under which the water from the root cells will move up to the xylem. Alright, now let's see what happens next. Now this is called as ascent of sap. Ascent and descent. Ascent is nothing but rising up, going up, traveling up, and descent is going down. So here what is happening? Obviously the water is rising up. Where up? Up in the upper parts of the plant, the stem, the leaves, against the earth's gravity. Alright, so what is ascent of sap? The upward movement of water and other minerals from the roots to the other parts of the plant through xylem is called ascent of sap or translocation of sap. Okay, so this movement will happen by certain processes, right? Now here there is a diagrammatic representation. Now osmosis pushes water into root hair. So this is supposedly osmosis is happening here. This is a representation of a root hair, and the water is being pushed inside the root hair. Okay, so the root pressure then will push the water upwards towards the stem. Alright, I hope you can see the arrow marks here. So the water enters inside an individual root hair, then it's forming a pressure, it is pushing the water column up. Okay, now adhesion and cohesion makes column of water molecules. Now these are concepts of physics. Okay, sticking. There are two types of things happening here. Cohesive forces of water molecules, so that the water is present in a liquid form. There is no breaking of chain of water molecules. Okay, the cohesive forces. Adhesion to the walls of the xylem, right? So that they continue sticking to the wall, forming a continuous water column rising up on the stem. Alright, now capillary action results in rise up water at the base of stem. So this capillary action is very simple to understand. if you just take a tip of a tissue paper, which blots water, which soaks up water, you don't really have to dip the tissue paper in the water. Okay, you just try this. Take the corner, just small corner of the tissue paper, and just put it in the water. What will happen? Water will start rising up in the tissue paper. It will get reduced in the container, and you will see that your entire tissue paper is turning wet. Okay, now this is nothing but capillary action. Capillary action is what? Where the movement of the liquid will happen in upward direction. You just have to touch the surface of the water. All right, so there are in fact capillary tubes. As you go in higher classes in 9th and 10th, we will be doing a lot of experiments in chemistry lab. There you will see that there are capillary tubes, and at that time you will be able to understand it much better. But this is very similar to capillary action. You can try it out at home. Just put the tip of the tissue paper in water, and you will see that the entire tissue paper is gradually, the water is rising up. You can see the water rising up in the tissue paper. Okay, so that is capillary action. So all of this together pushes the water up the stem. All right, and then water rises up. That is ascent of sap. Let's see what else is being explained. Now, the absorption of water occurs in the roots through root hair, right? That we have seen. This water is conducted through the vessels and tracheids in the stem. Now, vessels and tracheids are part of which tissue? Right, xylem. Okay. Now, the water, you can see it is going up. All right, through the xylem it is going up, and transpiration causes the water to be lost from leaves. This loss of water will create a pull on the sap being conducted by xylem, causing the sap to ascend. Now, this word transpiration, I'm sure you have studied earlier, though I'm going to explain it in a little more elaborate manner now. But what is transpiration? Loss of water in the form of water vapor. Where it happens? It happens from the leaves. Okay, so this loss of water will create a pull. Now just understand, you trying to suck a liquid, maybe your milk or your favorite cold drink or milkshake, through a straw. All right, now as you pull up, you create a suction force and you try to sip in or suck in the liquid from the straw. As you keep sucking up, there is a gap created down in the straw, and that is replaced by furthermore liquid being drawn up the straw. Correct? Did you understand? You must have done it 1,000 times so far when you're drinking water from water bottle. If there is a straw, or you're drinking juice, or you're drinking some cold drink or something like that, so what do? You suck in, right? It just can't come, the water can't rise up, the liquid can't rise up the straw by itself. You have to create the suction force by sucking. Exactly in a similar way, as the water loss is happening, the water is getting evaporated, there is a gap getting created, and that gap has to be filled by the water. So automatically the water molecules are moving out, giving way for more water molecules to rise up. All right, so as the water molecules are rising up, the water molecules are getting evaporated, they are rising up. So this is what is happening, and this is how the process of ascent of sap takes place. All right, and from where the water is lost through the process of transpiration, think. I'm sure we have studied this earlier in lower classes. Right, it is the structure called as stomata. Through the stomata, or through the stomatal pore, through the stomatal opening, this water is lost in the form of water vapor. All right, Now plants will be continuously absorbing water through their roots, but what will happen? This water will move up through the stem to all parts of the plants. And you know what? You will be so surprised to know something. The water that is drawn up by the roots and sent to the upper parts of the plants, they are hardly getting utilized. Maximum amount of water that is absorbed by the roots is lost in the form of water vapor through transpiration, and only a very small amount of water is utilized by the plants in photosynthesis. All right, so the maximum amount of water is lost through the stomata in the process of transpiration. If you recollect, right from the lower classes we have studied about water cycle. All right, so this is water cycle. What is happening? Leaves evaporating water in the form of water vapor. The water vapor is going up, forming clouds, condensation, precipitation. Water comes down in the form of rain, enters the soil, gets to the roots absorb water, send it to the leaves. Again the same process continues. Clear? But that is also very important for the plants. Now why is it important for the plants? Why do you think the plants will be losing the water? If they require water, why should they lose it in the form of this water vapor? Because if they are happy with the amount of water they have absorbed once, what will happen? They will not get the minerals, because it is just not water molecules entering the plants, it is also the minerals. So that is the only way the plants can obtain the minerals, through the process of absorption of water from the roots, right? But at the same time, they will not keep the excess water with them. They will just let it go up in the atmosphere in the form of water vapor. Now this also helps the plant in cooling down. The cooling effect brought about by transpiration helps the plant in maintaining its temperature, right? Just the way we sweat it out and the body cools. In a similar way, transpiration also helps in cooling down of the plant body, right? So I hope you have all understood the ascent of sap, the concept of ascent of sap, right? Rising up or the upward movement of water and other minerals. Because the minerals are dissolved in water, it is called as sap. All right, it is just not water, pure water, it is sap. Okay, so upward movement of water and other minerals from the roots to other parts of the plant through xylem is called ascent of sap. Clear with this concept? Now let's proceed to see what is transpiration. Transpiration, the loss of water in the form of water vapor from the aerial parts of a plant, is called transpiration. I want you to note it down, and you have to remember this definition till you give your 10th boards, and later if you take up science, till your 12th boards, right? Yes, a very, very important concept in the plant world, and a very important chapter in your 10th standard, and a very important process to understand the definition. Loss of water in the form of water vapor from the aerial parts of a plant is called transpiration. Now here you can see the depiction. What is transpiration? The small openings on the underside of leaves are called stomata, right? In the epidermis layer we have this stomata. On the upper surface also they are present, but on the lower surface they are more in number. Okay, so what is happening? Water is getting absorbed by the roots, water is going up, and it is getting lost from the aerial parts of the plant. What do you mean by aerial parts of the plant? The one which fly in air? No, the one which are exposed to the air, right? Not from roots. Roots are inside the ground. The stem and the leaves are exposed to the atmosphere and that is what is the aerial parts. That is what they mean by aerial parts. Even you will see that in 10th standard we will do different types of transpiration. There you will see that even from the stem transpiration takes place. Is that clear? So will you remember this definition of transpiration? Read it along with me. The loss of water in the form of water vapor from the aerial parts of a plant is called transpiration. Got it? Very good. Now, the water absorbed by the roots is distributed to the entire plant, but only little amount is used in photosynthesis. So, the remaining water evaporates in the atmosphere as water vapor through stomata present in the epidermis. This is what we just now understood. Now I want you to have a look at the structures. Very important again. I want you to draw it, sketch and label this particular structure. Alright, not the closed one. I have shown here both the stomata. Now this entire thing is called as the stomatal apparatus, okay, which will have a pair of kidney shaped cells. All right, these are called as the guard cells surrounded by the epidermal cells. All right, so you will count the number of cells and draw the same structure. These also are individual cells with nucleus. You can see even the kidney shaped guard cells have their own nucleus. This is the vacuole, and this inner side of the stomatal or inner side of the guard cells have thick wall, inner thick wall. All right, can you see the wall inside is thick as compared to the outer thin wall? All right, observe the diagram carefully and I want you to draw it, sketch and label. This is a sure short question in your exam. Sketch and label the structure of stomata. Okay, so when the stomatal pore is open, the water loss happens. Now basically, why is stomata provided in the leaves? Can you recollect? I know it is difficult to even remember what was taught in the last video, but still I want you to utilize your brain for some time and try to think, why was this stomata at all provided to the leaves? Right. The stomatal openings are meant for exchange of gases, right? In the process of photosynthesis, carbon dioxide is taken in and converted to glucose in the process of photosynthesis with the help of sunlight and chlorophyll, right? And in that process, oxygen is released and oxygen is given out, okay? So, the stomatal pore is basically for exchange of gases. And in respiration, which gas is taken in by the plant cells? In respiration, think. Obviously, when we talk about respiration, it has to be oxygen. In photosynthesis, carbon dioxide is taken in and oxygen is given out. But in respiration, just like you and me, the plant cells also breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. Okay, so this stomatal pore is mainly for exchange of gases, but also through this pore, through this opening, the water molecules are evaporating in the form of water vapor. Clear, children? Good. And now we will try to understand what are the factors affecting the rate of transpiration. For this year, you just have to study the external factors or the environmental factors. In 10th standard, I will add on the internal factors as well. Okay, so what are the 5 factors listed here? The wind speed or wind, the humidity, that is the water content in the atmosphere, light intensity, the temperature, and the water content or the soil water. All right, the water content in the soil. Now let us have a look one by one. What is mentioned over here? Wind speed. Increase in wind speed will increase the rate of transpiration. Okay, so as the wind blows, it brings lot of dry mass of air in contact with the surface of the leaf, all right, and hence the water evaporation will be higher. So more faster the wind blows, more is the rate of transpiration, directly proportional. Is that clear? Increase in wind speed, increase in transpiration rate. The second factor is humidity. What is humidity? The moisture content or the water content in the atmosphere. Now the rate of transpiration decreases with the increase in humidity. Means what? The moment there is more amount of water in the atmosphere, so typically in the rainy season, transpiration will be decreased. The rate of transpiration decreases. Why? Because already there's a lot of water content in the atmosphere, so the transpiration will get reduced. All right. Higher the humidity in the atmosphere, lower is the rate of transpiration, or it is inversely proportionate. Fine. Third, light intensity. Now light obviously is dependent on the sun, and there is a reduction or increase of daylight as the months or the seasons change. Okay, now the light also initiates the opening or closing of the stomatal apparatus. All right, so the stomatal apparatus are sensitive to light. During the daytime, the stomatal apparatus opens. At night, they close. So this sensitivity also affects the rate of transpiration. And how is that? The increase in light intensity will increase the rate of transpiration. Okay, so obviously in summer the daylight is more and the rate of transpiration also happens at a higher rate. All right, you must have seen the leaves of the plants drooping down. They are not dead, huh? During intense heat. Mostly you will see this around mid-noon. Okay, midday or noon, not mid-noon, midday or noon. You will see that when the heat is at its peak in summer months, the leaves, many leaves, especially smaller plants, they droop down. That is because they have lost lot of amount of water in the process of transpiration. Is that clear? Now corresponding to light intensity is our fourth factor, temperature. Obviously you will not expect the temperature to rise at night, right? So along with the light intensity, when the temperature increases, it will increase the rate of transpiration. So again, same point, in summer months, transpiration is more. In summer months, during the daytime, transpiration is more. Okay, and transpiration is obviously less at night for 2-3 reasons. Temperature is less, there's no light, so stomata closes, and obviously then water can't move out. Okay, now the final point or final factor that affects the rate of transpiration is the water content in the soil. And what it says, the decrease in soil water will also decrease the transpiration rate. All right, so the plant will try to conserve the water by not letting it go out. Now it is little complicated to understand at this level because you are not aware of the internal factors. Now this particular external factor is actually related to internal factor as well. I'll just give you a kind of, a very simple explanation to it. Desert plants show very less transpiration. Now the stomata are hidden. They are called as sunken stomata. All right. So that is the reason why they have less amount of transpiration. But how the external factor in desert plant affects them, it is this point. There is very less water content in the soil, so the rate of transpiration is less. All right, so how you will remember, it is directly proportionate. The rate of transpiration will decrease with the decrease in amount of soil water. Okay, and if the rate of transpiration will decrease at a very higher rate than absorption of water, you will see the leaves falling, drooping down, and that is called as wilting of leaves. All right, is that clear? So if I give you a give reason, the leaves wilt on a hot windy day, what will be your answer? Your answer will be the leaves will wilt on a hot windy day because the rate of transpiration is far more than the rate of absorption of water. Okay, so that is why the leaves will wilt. Are you getting it? Now these are the 5 factors that you need to remember which affect the rate of transpiration. Now that is all for today. Next time I will be sending you what are the requirements, mineral requirements in plants, and the details about that. All right, so far now only this much, but I just want to sum up with a video that I am sending it to you. So here, this video is actually summation of the entire chapter, xylem, phloem, and the movement of food and water along with transpiration. Okay, here I have just shared with you 2 images. What you can do is, if you have potted plants, you can cover it with a plastic cover, of course with the permission of your parents. Please don't try to do anything without their permission. All right, so you can try this out, and you have to keep this in the sunlight for maybe an hour or so, and maybe little more if required, and you will see that water droplets start collecting on the inner side of the plastic that covers the leaves. Alternately, you can just if you open your refrigerator and you see the coriander or any leafy vegetable kept in a plastic, or even for that matter even fruits, vegetables that are kept in the plastic, you will always find that there's water molecule in the inner side. It is never a dry plastic. All right, now that is because of nothing but transpiration that is happening in the plants. Okay, now this for this particular thing to happen, you need a really well grown plant in the garden where there's a lot of water supply is assured, and it needs almost an entire day to collect this much amount of water. So this is just for your understanding that I have shared, but this definitely you can try at home. All right, so that is for the activity and video. You will see, you will have a fair idea of the entire chapter nicely explained or depicted in the video. And the next part is your exercise, a very small exercise I have given. So these are the fill in the blanks that you need to complete. You will rewrite the entire statement completing the fill in the blanks. Now why I am not giving you more tasks right now, because I will soon be uploading the worksheet for you to solve. That will be an exhaustive worksheet that you need to solve. All right, so that is all for today. Take good care of yourself till the next time we meet. Bye children.